Hi there. Let's talk about Roblox. Roblox is a lot less of an individual game and a lot more of a game platform. Fortnite recently, from what I've seen, has actually kind of copied the style, but it's a lot like Steam or GOG or the Epic Game Store, but instead of downloading the games to your computer's hard drive like a sensible person, it just streams everything over the internet, and yeah, it's a whole thing. And as such, there exists a very wide variety of people on there, some of which are less savory than others, but whatever, I digress. Most of these people are just, iPad kids and teenagers on their phones doing things they're not supposed to be doing at school. Console and VR players do exist too, but they're a bit more rare. Same deal with computer users. And although whether or not they have a good computer is also a bit in the air as well, most of the computer users are just playing on their grandma's laptop or whatever. With that being said, some regular Roblox users are migrating to powerful desktop computers, sometimes getting said computer for the express purpose of playing Roblox or Fortnite or whatever else. And, well, I would know because I was one of them. Today, I want to focus on one of Roblox's great strengths, which is that it will run on literally anything made after it initially came out in 2006. And specifically that theory. As you probably don't already know, in my teenage years I've become a bit of an e-waste connoisseur. Oh wait, what the heck? Man, I can still use that. Why is that in here? And as such, I have quite a wide variety of hardware at my disposal to do, whatever I want with. And today, I want to do a scientific test on what your hardware expectations should be when running any Roblox game at any graphics quality. So, come forth. We now have some work to do. This is Ender Lore, and you're watching, Ender Lore. Roblox's official minimum system requirements are as follows. A dedicated video card, at least 5 years of age, that supports DirectX 10. Starting off interesting here. 5-year-old video cards support a lot more than DirectX 10. Think about it. That's we're in 2026, right? And that would have been NVIDIA 30 series. Yeah. And at least 3 years old for an integrated GPU. Okay. Well, yeah, so this is a good start. Honestly, I would say that this hardware is a bit overkill in my personal opinion for Roblox, but we're not here for opinions. We want data. And it also says, in terms of CPU, it needs a quote-unquote recent CPU made after the year 2005. That's a bit generous. 20 years is a long time for calling a CPU modern. At 1.6 gigahertz. It also says here that there have been some issues with older AMD processors. What on earth could that be? Like the Athlon 64 or something like that? Good grief. In terms of RAM, they recommend at least 1 gigabyte for Windows 10 or Windows 11. Well, seeing as that isn't even the minimum requirement for either of those operating systems, I think that department has already been taken care of. Finally, they recommend at least 300 megabytes of drive space to install the game engine. I've seen it use, well, an order of magnitude more than that. Even more than that amount in temp files and other crap. Actually, I think my current install on my PC is around 3 gigabytes if I remember right. I mean, I could be wrong, but So obviously, Roblox's official minimum requirements are very outdated, and I think it's safe to say that in the 20 years or so since this list was compiled, the game engine has had a few enhancements since then. And we've made some improvements in the world of PC hardware as well. So I feel it necessary to scientifically evaluate the true limits of what Roblox can and cannot run on. Now, I will say that I have a general idea of how Roblox runs on any given machine, since I have a lot of experience over the years just installing it on like random hardware that I have lying around, and just to see how it runs. And generally my experience is that Roblox cares mostly about your GPU. Just past a certain point, the CPU is kinda irrelevant, but we aren't here for opinions or hunches, we want real data-backed results, so let's get to that. Here are the systems we will be testing with. I've divided them up into 3 performance classes. Think of them like, I don't know, weight classes in boxing or something like that. Basically, all it does is predetermine which resolution we'll be start testing with on progressively faster systems in order to save time during testing, because I think we can all agree that there's no point in testing competent gaming PCs that have graphics cards which start with RTX in Roblox at 800 by 600. So the first class we have here is the low end. We're going to start at 800 by 600 resolution because, well, for obvious reasons. First system, we have a giant ThinkPad. It's a ThinkPad E545, and the second system is a 2007 iMac. And the third system is a Chromebook that has been firmware flashed with Tiny 11 on it. And the fourth system is the Toughbook motherboard. It's a motherboard from an old Panasonic Toughbook. Not really much you could explain more about that. The fifth system is a Dell 755 platform with an HD 7470 graphics card. Basically, I took the motherboard out of an old Dell Multiplex, stuck a GPU on it, called it a day. And then the sixth system in this class is a retro gaming PC in Windows 10. It's basically the same Dell Optiplex with better CPU, more RAM, and a better GPU. So in the mid-range class of systems, we're going to be starting at 720p and getting progressively better than that. To start off with the mid-range systems, we have Lenovo ThinkPad E14 Gen 2, which is the system I'm reading the script off of right now. Then we have a 2017 MacBook Pro, and now we're going to have a Steam Deck LCD. The first custom build of the series is going to be a Ryzen 3 1200 and an RX 640 PC. And the final system in that bracket is a big gray Dell XPS. Now, the high end, where we start off at 1080p, it's gonna be a little weird. We're gonna do some more swapping out and all that stuff, because I just generally don't get systems that are this fast. So, first of all, we've got a Dell Precision 3630 workstation with 16 gigs of RAM and a GTX 1060 in it. And then the next 3 systems are all based on my old gaming PC, which has a AMD Ryzen 7 1700 Non-X with 16 gigs of DDR4. We're going to be running 3 GPUs in that system, an RX 480, an RX 580, both 4 gig cards, and an RX 6700 XT. And then the last system is going to be my big PC outside with the RTX 5070 Ti in it. That one's going to be fun. And then there also might be some bonus ones too, depending on if we have time for that. So the resolutions we're going to be testing with today is 800 by 600, 720p, 1080p, 1440p, and 4K. We're not going to push it up to 8K because I only have 1080p displays, and the only way I could get higher resolutions than 1080p is by super sampling with stuff like that. I'm going to have special rules in our testing parameters to allocate for this issue. Don't worry. And we're only going down to 800 by 600 because that's the lowest resolution that Roblox will physically allow. We literally cannot make the window any smaller than that. And speaking of which, without some kind of rule set, our testing data means absolutely nothing, so let's figure that out now. So I've gotten my rules written down here. I'm just going to read them off to you. For each testing resolution, I will test the graphical limits by increasing the graphics quality by 1 level, starting at the lowest and working up to the highest, determining the average FPS at every level. If the average FPS reaches unplayable levels, let's say 15 FPS at the lower limit, then it receives a fail and we cease testing there. We will then move on to the next test, whatever that may be. For these tests, we will use the latest version of Windows 10 or Windows 11 that each machine supports, and we will use the standard vanilla Roblox client that you can download from their website. If a machine is either too impractical to test from this way, or if it cannot run Windows for whatever reason, it will be exempt from official testing. This basically overrules systems like smartphones and consoles where I can't change the resolution easily on demand. Also, the average child will not be running Linux on their computer most of the time. This is for the sake of repeatability, since the Linux client for Roblox not only isn't official, but it also has totally different performance. If I cannot, for whatever reason, super sample the display resolution to something higher than 1080p, I have reached the maximum testing resolution of 4K and the frame rate is still within acceptable measures, I have devised a special set of rules that will allow us to still make a classification. If the ending frame rate is above 15 FPS but below 30 FPS, I will write it off as a marginal pass. If the frame rate is above 30 FPS and below 60 FPS, I will write it off as a pass, with no extra adjectives. If the frame rate is above 60 FPS and below 120 FPS, it gets a high pass. If the frame rate is above 120 FPS and below the engine limit of 240 FPS, it gets a total pass. Understand all that? I'm sure you don't, so I made a chart for you to see, which is on screen right now. To summate that in scientific terms, our independent variables are the overall graphics quality, being the quality slider in Roblox and the resolution we test at. Our dependent variable is the frame rate. We measure and record its value for each quality level. Our controlled variables are the operating system and the game client, the standard vanilla Roblox client, and the latest version of Windows 10 or 11 that the specified system is capable of running, and the games we play to test. Any extraneous variables include the thermal throttling or random things that Windows does in the background, as they influence overall system performance. The failed condition is based on real-world usability. If you've ever seen or had to use something that run at anywhere near the 15 FPS, you'd know how truly terrible it is. We operationally define passing and failing when we cannot increase the resolution any further due to whatever reason, and we have an entire set of rules based on the ending frame rate, so the classification logic we will discuss later on does not break down. Since MSI Afterburner's OSD does not work on Roblox, we will use the in-client Shift plus F5 debug menu, which displays frame rate among other things. And we will also use Task Manager for monitoring resource usage, so that anyone can repeat a similar test on their own Windows PC with minimal hassle. Task Manager itself isn't without limitations, though. Most notably, we can't monitor temperature of components except for the GPU in semi-rare cases. But that shouldn't matter too much for most of our tests. Detecting thermal throttling is easy enough even with the resources I just mentioned. The games we will test are Natural Disaster Survival to represent a typical case, Doors to represent a demanding case, and Relive to represent a worst case. In order to find out which kind of device is ideal for playing Roblox, we'll look at the data gathered for each starting resolution according to their respective performance class, and assign which hardware would be the most ideal for running within those parameters. I will include the spreadsheet that has all of my recorded testing data in the description of this video, in case anyone wants to look over it. Now, let's test. To start, we have the low-end hardware. Alright, first test of the video here, and we're already starting off strong with some really confusing results. I touched on it briefly earlier, but I mentioned that Roblox doesn't really care what CPU you have as long as it's not like the worst CPU known to man. The thing is, this computer does have the worst CPU known to man. Not only is it an old AMD CPU, but from before they cracked the code with Zen, it only has 2 cores and no hyper-threading. I tested it in Cinebench R23 a while back, and if I remember right, it got somewhere along the lines of 500 points in a multi-core test, which is not good at all, to say the least. But yeah, that CPU bottleneck definitely manifested itself in the form of all that weirdness and the performance consistency I kept running into while I tested. The performance was only ever really consistent when I tested Natural Disasters at 1080p, because by then the CPU bottleneck had been mostly eliminated. My final thoughts on this system would be that it is most certainly usable for some quality Roblox gaming, but don't expect to be playing anything at HD or 60 FPS. Now, I'll show you the complete spreadsheet that contains all my testing data and the frame rate graphs on the resolutions where it failed. The next machine I tested was an iMac from the year 2007. This machine is so old that it's legally an adult, and it was made only a year after Roblox first came out in 2006. By 2007 standards, it was a fairly beefy computer, but now that's not so true. However, despite its extreme age, it ran Roblox games fairly well. Natural disasters and doors were both very playable. At their worst, I think they only got down to around 30 FPS. You may or may not notice from the testing footage here, the display on the iMac gets real overexposed sometimes and you can't see what's happening, but it becomes apparent at higher graphics levels and relived indoors that Roblox isn't using its full fancy lighting. That's the fault of the GPU in this machine. Because it's so old, it doesn't support the DirectX 11 feature set, which means that Roblox runs in a more limited mode, and so it can't do all the fancy graphic stuff it otherwise would. So, a similarly powered but newer GPU would see lower performance because it would be doing the fancy lighting at those settings. I won't invalidate these results because in a real-world scenario, it is entirely possible for someone to have a system that just doesn't support these features, something like an older phone or a computer. My final thought is that the 2007 iMac is also perfectly usable for some quality Roblox gaming, especially because of the handicap put in place due to the graphics API discrepancy. Now here are the performance metrics. This one is probably the dumbest computer I have in my possession. So what this is, basically, is an ancestor to a certain line of Acer Chromebooks that are commonplace in the education space, that being the Spin series, a modern revision of which we use at my school, and from the looks of it, in many other places as well. A friend of mine who lives in New York uses a slightly beefier version of what I have. That being said, however, newer Chromebooks don't exactly have a reputation for being particularly fast or good, and this one isn't any different. You might have already noticed that it looks like this machine is running Windows 11, and it is to a degree. It's running a version of Tiny 11 that will fit within the ridiculously small 16 gigabytes. Yes, you heard me right, only 16 gigabytes of non-upgradable eMMC storage, and there is no extra M.2 or SATA connection inside either. So it's either this or I get to boot off an SD card, and booting off an SD card and then trying to actually use this thing is just straight torture. Nevertheless, I was able to install two things only in that storage space, that being Chrome and Roblox. And Roblox actually ran fine, honestly. For some reason, I had the same problem with the iMac, where Roblox wouldn't get out its fancy lighting at higher graphics, despite the passively cooled Celeron's integrated graphics having the hardware support. When I stress tested the system before, it would thermal puddle due to lackluster cooling, but I want to say it all stayed within rated speeds, and those rated speeds seem to be fast enough to deliver what I would say to be a usable Roblox experience. 1080p is probably pushing it a bit, to be honest, but natively running it with the integrated display's 1366 by 768 resolution should be very playable. This is the motherboard from an early 2010s Panasonic Toughbook laptop. A while ago, I received it as a gift and then tried to use it as a daily driver. It was fairly usable back then, and still is today, honestly. However, this crippled state you see it in was a big oopsie on my part. At one point, I tried to tear it down to install new thermal paste, but it ended up being way more involved than I was anticipating, and I wasn't experienced enough, and I ended up killing the display. Because of this, I just took the motherboard out and used it for various random projects of mine. It was even my Minecraft server, and that's why it has 16 gigs of RAM. With that being said, the dynamic with this system is a lot better than anything else we've tested so far. According to me, it's only just modern and fast enough to capable of running Windows 11 well, and to also get some actual work done on top of that. Anything from YouTube videos to very light gaming on a device like this is perfectly doable. This was reflected in the testing data here. For some reason that we may never know, Roblox decided that the integrated Intel HD 4000 graphics in this system was worthy of the fancy lighting. So, particularly in the Doors test, we saw the performance drop off sharply as it deployed the future lighting. What was most interesting to me was the results of the Relive showcase. It literally failed as soon as I joined the game and got set up. I want to say that it never got to above 12 FPS. Since the CPU in this one wasn't just actual trash, the integrated graphics was actually able to perform to its fullest capacity, which sounds utterly ridiculous, but with this tier of hardware, it's not as rare as you might think. Here's another interesting old computer here. This system, the Dell Optiplex 755, came out right at the very end of the Core 2 Duo era, in 2008, which means it's nearly as old as I am by coincidence. The specific hardware configuration here is as follows. We have an Intel Core 2 Duo E6850 processor, 5 gigs of DDR2 at 667 megatransfers per second, and a Radeon HD 747 video card. As you can see, we just have a motherboard and video card here. I would use the integrated motherboard graphics for the sake of consistency, but it supports absolutely no modern graphics APIs, so I just cut my losses and went with the second best option, that Radeon Display Adapter card from 2012. I honestly find it very impressive just how much it can do on these incredibly old systems, and also how optimized Roblox can be at times with really slow hardware. Like, if you were stuck on a system this bad and couldn't upgrade for whatever reason, this configuration can still get into and run a multitude of Roblox games. Now, is the loss in visual quality and extremely low resolutions exactly ideal? No, not at all, and I would personally hate playing everything at 800 by 600 with a 400 stud render distance. That's the render distance that Roblox has on the lowest possible setting, by the way. However, some games like Doors are super enclosed and you don't really need to see super far away most of the time, so playing on that bad computer would be fine, but anything more open and you'll have trouble seeing 2 feet in front of you. Okay, I'm done ranting. Let's go to the next computer. I built up this system to be the ultimate Windows XP gaming rig for early 2000s programs and games, possibly even earlier than that since XP apparently still has great native support for DOS and Windows 9X games. If you look at the sticker on the front of the Dell Optiplex 755 tower I use for this system, it has a little sticker that says it's designed for Windows XP in the first place, so naturally I chose the 64-bit Service Pack 1 for use with it. But it has another trick up its sleeve. It can run Windows 10 pretty well, for basic stuff at least. Fun fact, I actually edited my RX 580 video I did a few years back entirely on one of these. It was about as bad as you might imagine. Anyways, let's talk about the hardware here. We have an Intel Core 2 Duo E8500 CPU, 8 gigs of DDR2 RAM. For the Windows 10 disk, we have a really old 250 gig SATA HDD that is terrible to use. And for the video card, we have an ATI Radeon HD 5670. This time around, the age discrepancy between the GPU and the rest of the system isn't as crazy as before, being about 2 years apart now. That's 2008 to 2010, so it would be reasonable to assume that someone would have actually bought this tower and then upgraded the GPU later down the line for whatever they could need. That still doesn't change the fact that this system is over 15 years old at best, and yet it kept with Roblox pretty well, in my personal opinion. But we're not here for that, are we? We want real data. For the lowest 800 by 600 resolution, this system soared far ahead of any of the other systems we've tested so far, being able to deliver playable frame rates even with the settings maxed out indoors, and you can even push it to HD or in something like natural disasters. it was even able to get to level 8 graphics in the Relive showcase before the frame rate dipped below 15 FPS. And thus, that system finishes up the low-end performance class. And now, we begin the mid-range tests. We are starting off the mid-range here with one of my own daily driver machines. This is a Lenovo ThinkPad E14 Gen 2, and I've been using it as one of my main systems for just over a year now. This model first came out in January of 2021, and it has an Intel Core i5 1135 G7 processor. That's 4 hyper-threaded cores. For some reason that we may never know, Lenovo only put one SODIMM DDR4 memory slot inside this computer, which totally nukes its memory bandwidth. Nevertheless, it has 16 gigabytes of DDR4, running at 3200 megatransfers per second. This system could be spec'd up with either an NVIDIA GeForce MX350 or MX450 graphics card, but mine doesn't have that, it just uses integrated Iris Xe graphics. Actually, if you open it up and take a look at the board, you can see all of the solder joints where the graphics subsystem would have gone if it was installed. With that being said, this system handled our test suite decently well in 720p, but when we moved to full HD, it started to choke a bit. I couldn't move it past full HD though, due to hardware limitations. If I'm being honest, if we were looking at this system like it was bottom of the barrel hardware, as we were just testing, I would say it's totally great and that there's hardly any problems with it. But this is far more recent and thus expensive hardware, and honestly, I would say that this system is not great, but not particularly terrible either. I would absolutely recommend it to someone who needs a computer for school or to check their email or whatever, but not necessarily for any kind of gaming like this. Well, the next system is pretty interesting, so let's move on. Of all the systems that I have with tragic backstories, this one probably takes the cake for the most tragic backstory. But I will admit that it had a long and fruitful life while it was still a fully functional machine. The computer part of this MacBook Pro from 2017 still works fine. It's just that everything else about it does not work fine. The battery is completely cooked, and you might also notice that the built-in display is not on. Well, the display works, like the panel, the LCD moves the crystals around and all that stuff, but the backlight is broken due to a design flaw, which was unfortunately very common with this specific era of MacBook Pro, and the repair would cost more than the machine is worth in and of itself. This machine was my father's for a very long time. I remember when he got it and I thought it was the coolest thing I had ever seen in my life. And then it had some weird issues. I think it stopped booting at one point, like it wouldn't turn on at all. And so he gave it to me and got a new MacBook Air, like one of the M2 ones. And then I got a hold of it and I looked up the problem. I eventually sorted it out, and I use this thing as like my laptop, my actual laptop, my daily driver laptop for like a year and a half, and then, well, the backlight on the display went out, and I started using that ThinkPad, which you just saw in the test before. But with all that being said, this machine has dedicated graphics and all that, so which the dedicated graphics of which are performant enough to play some respectable things. I remember being able to play Helldivers on it at one point. But anyway, let's without further ado, I'll tell you the specifications of this machine. In it, we have an Intel Core i7 7920HQ. Let me pull up Task Manager here. And 16 gigabytes of DDR3 running at 2133 megahertz, which is pretty respectable for DDR3. Like that for DDR3, that's pretty crazy. Core i7 7920HQ. I don't know why it's running at 94 megahertz right now. Okay, that's a bit more normal. That was weird. But we got 16 gigs of DDR3, yada yada yada, and 256 gig storage, and the Radeon Pro 560. The die of this Radeon Pro 560 is based on just like a normal RX 560, although it has the TDP very heavily limited to be compliant with this form factor. So, that's enough of the hardware. Let's get to the tests. Now that you've heard my tale of woe, I just want to go on record and say that this machine was not performing anywhere near its best today. Apple is notorious for very aggressively throttling their devices when certain hardware components are missing or have failed, and this is the case here. The battery has gone bad, so the whole system was operating at roughly 1/4 of its full capability. Had it not been throttling, it would have run Roblox significantly faster than the previous machine. With that being said, even in this crippled state you see it in, it is the first machine to break into the 4K resolution in natural disaster survival. Not to say that this milestone would have been capable in terms of performance on other systems, but after all, it is an inherent quirk not to be able to super sample the display resolution in AMD virtual super resolution kind of way, as is the case on some older, more limited GPUs. Comparing testing data reveals that the Mac in this state to be just under my previously tested retro gaming PC, that Optiplex 755 that I stuck an HD 5670 into. Anybody with a general knowledge of PC hardware would reasonably assume that the graphics card inside a maxed out MacBook Pro from over 9 years ago would be able to run circles around a mid-range desktop card from over 16 years ago, not to mention that the latter one has quarter the VRAM of the MacBook Pro. I am very sad about it. This particular computer holds a very special place in my heart, and it deeply saddens me to see it in this state. I do suppose, though, it is getting to be 9 years old after all, 8 of which were spent happily serving me and my father. It had a good run, I'd say. Well, time marches on, and so should we. The next system is pretty funny, so let's focus on that. And then we're going to open up MSI Afterburner, figure out why it's doing this. Oh, whoa, that core clock is way too low. What on earth? 214 megahertz? This is supposed to be like 907. Okay, let's see here. Alright, I'm going to load my old OC profile. It still doesn't, it's still throttling. Alright, what about like the really low clock? Yeah, no. But yeah, that's pretty like definitively sure that it is like throttling because the battery's bad. Oh man. Yeah, it's been such a long day doing absolutely nothing. I can't wait to like get some sleep and stuff. Man, what is this on my bed, bro? What? Bro, is this a Switch 3 or something? What is this? Boy, is that SpongeBob? Valve's unexpected entry into the handheld market from early 2022 was as groundbreaking to PC gaming as the Nintendo Switch was to console gaming in 2017. Valve, in collaboration with AMD, really achieved the impossible with the Steam Deck. They harnessed the power and versatility of a regular old PC and put it into the Wii U gamepad form factor that we all know too well today. Now, of course, the Steam Deck being a fully fledged x86 gaming PC means that it can run Windows, along with SteamOS being based on Arch Linux means that theoretically the Steam Deck can run just about anything. So, of course, Roblox runs on the Steam Deck, and it actually runs, like, really well, too. No kidding, the Steam Deck is a device built for gaming on the level of PlayStation 4, more or less. And with that being said, Roblox did receive a PS4 port somewhat recently. So naturally, Roblox runs flawlessly on the Steam Deck. Because of the really weird limitation of AMD Radeon Adrenalin software not being available on the Steam Deck and Windows, I was unable to activate VSR and push the resolution past 1080p, even though it could definitely go higher than that in most cases. I'm still satisfied with my results though, and the details that this data provides lead me to make the claim that, given the Steam Deck's native resolution is 1280 by 800 anyway, that Roblox is absolutely, incredibly, undoubtedly very playable. Think about this for a second. What if I had a Steam Deck that's like a million times more impractical? Well, look no further. This computer is a pretty funny creation of mine, as it was literally built out of a box of scraps, but not in a cave. Very important detail there. What I mean by box of scraps, however, is that this computer is basically made out of cheap e-waste that is still usable enough for Windows 11, but not usable for any of that high-tech RTX nonsense. I won't get into details about the hardware. All you need to know is that it has a Ryzen 3 Pro 1200 CPU, an RX 640 GPU, and 16 gigs of RAM, because I suppose I should be talking about performance. It ran Roblox beautifully, speaking of which, and it was easily able to max outdoors in full HD at 60 FPS. You could even do it in 1440p if you're willing to tolerate 30 FPS. Relived was not particularly ideal, though. Even maxed out at 720p, it wasn't getting 30 FPS. But if you're willing to limit your expectations for graphics quality, lowering it down to level 6 will get you at the 30 FPS margin in full HD. And that's why I love this system, honestly. One look at it and you might just pass it off as a steaming pile of garbage, but once you actually go and do stuff on it, it's remarkably powerful for what it is. You could build a similar system to this for like $250 or something like that, and put it into the tiniest ITX case you can find to make a neat little home theater setup or something like that. This system has tons of potential for all kinds of use cases. Maybe that's something I'll explore in another video for another day. Anyway, let's go on to the next system. Blow him up. This stupid idiot that's like dancing on top of the thing. Please blow him up. Blow him up right now. Come on, game. You got this. I know you can do it. Please, you're so close. Please, just kill him. You're doing that stupid dance right there. Yeah! Old, hot, slow, but surprisingly quiet. Those are all words I would choose when describing this machine. A lot of people don't really understand what AMD was like before they came up with Ryzen and basically made history. In the early 2000s, AMD was, quote-unquote, riding high, as a certain man named Linus would put it. The Athlon 64 was vastly superior to Intel's Pentium 4 chips, which were notoriously hot and slow. Then, in the early 2010s, the script had totally flipped. Intel had the fast chips, and AMD kept dropping one inefficient turd after the next. They heavily invested into multi-core processors, when most software at the time didn't actually take full advantage of multiple cores. This system has a processor from that exact time period, the AMD Phenom 2X6-1045T, a 6-core, 95-watt beast of a chip that competed with the first-generation Intel Core i series processors. With these, it was actually able to keep up, being comparable to the flagship i7-920. However, when Intel refined their architecture and dropped the 2nd Gen Core i series, even the mid-range desktop parts like the Core i5-2400 absolutely fried this chip, and up until Ryzen, AMD just could not keep up. Now, back to this specific system. As I said before, the CPU present here is an AMD Phenom 2 X6-1045T with 6GB of DDR3 RAM and a Radeon R7 260X GPU. I had it on hand, and the PC Bottlenecks calculator claimed it was pretty good. So, I put it in here, and now this thing runs games. Overall, it performed a bit under the margin of the Steam Deck in that quote-unquote sleeper PC that I just tested. Realistically, a computer like this paired with a period-accurate monitor with a resolution of like 1366 by 768 or something like that would be a totally righteous system to play some Roblox on. And thus ends the mid-range tests. And now we begin the high-end tests. We're starting off the high-end segment strong here with a system that contains the graphics card that dominated the Steam hardware survey for over half a decade, the legendary NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1060. Other specs include the Intel Core i5-8500 and 16GB of DDR4 memory. With hardware this fast, the frame rate in natural disaster survival never left the hard engine limit of 240 frames per second, up until the very end where we were already pushing 4K with maximum settings. Relived only ever failed right at the very same point, and in 1080p it was delivering a very playable frame rate even at maximum settings. Indoors, we were able to push the resolution up to 4K at maximum settings and not dip below 30 FPS either. In my personal opinion, this system is perfect. Just the right balance of price and performance to just get in and play some Roblox games and flex on your less fortunate friends without strong computers. But, as I said before, and I will say again, we don't care about opinions here, we want data, and the data doesn't lie. This card only ever falters when you push the resolution to 4K here, with one exception being Relived, but most games on the platform aren't nearly as demanding as that. Our next system is a lot more interesting than this generic black box here, so let's move on to that. This card sounded terrible. The performance was not, but the fans definitely sounded like they have seen better days. This makes sense because I got this Asus Dual card as a birthday present from a church friend a few years back. If you're watching this, you know who you are. I'm not going to say your name for obvious reasons, but I will say thank you. Anyway, when I got it, it had already been well-loved for many years by its previous owner, so it wasn't like it was mined on or anything crazy like that. Anyway, let's talk about the test system we're going to use for the next three graphics cards. We have a Ryzen 7 1700 processor here and 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM. They should be running at 3200 megatransfers per second, but I'm not so sure. I seem to always have memory issues with this platform, and there's a solid chance they're running at 2400 megatransfers a second too. Overall, this system performed well. GCN has a knack for doing that. It never seems to become truly irrelevant just because RX 580s and all that are super cheap with a reasonable amount of VRAM these days. Although, that may change. They don't support DirectX 12 fully. I'm not talking about like ray tracing or whatever. I'm talking about DirectX 12.1. The X12 Ultimate is 12.2, and anything that doesn't run ray tracing but does run DX12 is on 12.1. 480, the RX 480, 580, whatever, just about all GCN cards only support DirectX 12.0. There are confirmed cases of games not running on these cards because of this seemingly minor feature discrepancy. However, Roblox only uses DirectX 11 for now, so we should be fine here. This configuration handled everything in 1080p within very acceptable bounds. Most games will run well over 60 FPS, but our Relive test does show that it struggles in some cases, but it never dipped below 30 FPS in this case. For all the less demanding games, resolution up to 4K still deliver amazing performance. Even Doors was running over 30, but the performance in Relive led to a fail. Well, nice. Right. Well, okay. This one takes me back, I tell you what. Though I do not miss how loud this thing was. The entire time I was testing, I genuinely thought that my PC was going to start flying with how flipping loud the fans were on this GPU. Nevertheless, this configuration performs just a bit better than the former, which makes sense. The RX 580 is essentially the exact same as the RX 480, just die shrunk and given more power and clock speed. However, this subtle boost was just enough to make 1080p gaming with this thing and Roblox all the better. It got over 120 FPS indoors, Natural Disasters was essentially locked at 240, but Relive still struggled around 35. This card is also much more tolerable to use at higher resolutions. At 4K, I measure Natural Disasters performance to be firmly in the high refresh rate territory at 155 FPS. Doors was over 40 FPS at 4K, meaning you can reasonably play Doors at 4K with a configuration like this. Nice. This is insane. It just barely fits that water cooler in there. But it fits, and if it fits, it sits. We are now at the penultimate system. If you've seen my RX 6700 XT video already, then you probably know what to expect out of this thing. Nothing but amazing performance. When testing at lower resolutions, it should be noted that this particular CPU was bottlenecking the GPU due to Roblox's single-threaded nature. Properly made games that use many CPU cores, yes, I did just call the Roblox engine poorly made, will see far less of a bottleneck in a system like this. Even still, this system now hand over heel defeats the 4K resolution with Roblox. Natural Disasters was locked at 240 FPS for literally everything, and Doors never ran below 100 FPS. Relive did struggle a bit, however, at maximum 4K settings it ran near 40 FPS. Mind you, this card regularly goes for under $300 on eBay, even in this economy. So So, if you're on a budget and you're even remotely considering this card, go for it, dude. Roblox isn't the only thing you can run on a card as good as this one. It can run very stout AAA games like Alan Wake 2 very well. Believe me, I would know, and I have scientific evidence to back it up. I did record that evidence about 2 years ago now, though make of that what you will, but still! Performance. Nothing but fast, beautiful frames. 1080p, 1440p, 4K, even the crazy surround ultra-wide 5760 by 1080. Nothing that Roblox has to offer could stand a chance against the sheer power of the mighty GeForce RTX 5070 Titanium. And honestly, of course this is the case. This thing is within the hitting distance of an RTX 5080. As a matter of fact, it uses the exact same GPU die, just a slightly cut down version. In terms of performance, we're talking locked 2 or 40 FPS in natural disasters indoors, and Relived never dipped below 80 FPS at 4K. For Roblox, it's totally overkill. If all you play is Roblox, I wouldn't honestly recommend it. This is the kind of GPU when you want performance in the big AAA games or for big professional work. And yeah, that's why I saved up a year to get it. The 6700 XT is a great card and all, but I upgraded my PC to a 5070 Ti so I could get the more advanced feature set that Nvidia had to offer. I can now run LLMs, being basically condensed versions of chatbots like ChatGPT or Claude, directly on my own computer. 3D modeling in Blender is almost too easy. In some cases, I can pan around my scenes in real time using the rendered view in cycles. But glazing this card for a long time is a topic for another video. Stay tuned. And with that, the tests are over. And that concludes the high-end tests.
Alright guys, so I'm testing my phone in Roblox here. I'm sorry about the quality, because usually I use my phone to record, so I had to get out my old camera. I gotta make it really quick though, because it only has 2 gigabytes of storage in it, and I can only record for 15 minutes. So I really gotta I can't just record it all in one cut. So basically I'm on my phone here. I'm gonna go to settings. It's literally at maximum graphics, bro. And yeah, I'm gonna cut back when the round. Alright, so here we are on the map. As you can see, it's just running 60 FPS, probably even more than that. I don't know, I don't got a frame view on this John, but I mean, yeah, it's a pretty rainbow ride here, if I'm gonna be honest. It's pretty. Oh crap! No, I don't want that. It's pretty cool here, I'm just chilling on my gondola, but I'm low-key kind of getting bored, so I'm gonna go to Relived, bro. I honestly, please let me leave. I do not want to be here for the tsunami, bro. There we go. Alright, so here we are in Relived here. You can see what did I just turn up? I'm gonna turn that all the way down. What bro, I hate mobile UI so much. See, it's at maximum settings, but I don't know what frame rate this is, but it's pretty, it's okay. It's probably like 30, 20, something like that. It's not very good, but it looks pretty good. You know, it's looking pretty alright, honestly. So it's boring here, so I'm just gonna get out of here. So here we are in the hotel. We're literally indoors right now, guys. Like, I'm honestly just like gaming through the I'm honestly just like gaming through the camera viewfinder, and honestly, like, it's pretty good. It's running like pretty nice, and it looks alright. It looks alright. It's pretty good. Bro, what am I hearing right now, bro? Like, what is this? Uh-oh. What? Huh? What? What? Bro, why is there so many?
Alright guys, here we are in Roblox on the Nintendo 64. Right? I mean, like, look at this. It's literally running on the Nintendo 64. It's running so good. Literally. Controls are kind of weird, but that's okay because the Nintendo 64 controller is kind of weird. So, like, really can't complain because it's running on a Nintendo 64 right now. Like, I don't know, like, I've got it on my EverDrive here. Okay, and like it's literally running amazing. I can zoom out here. Maybe I'll go up here. Oh goodness, the building's collapsing.
And you shall die.
Oh gosh. It's kind of hard to see sometimes what's going on, especially because you got to use the C buttons to move the camera. It's pretty bad. Yeah, here. So I'm just gonna go up on the spectators and show you just like how bad the render distance is. Like, I can't see the island. It's not here. But someone just went to space. Who is this guy?
It's like he didn't
Sir,
either.
how are you doing today? On this fine day.
I think he's playing in VR. Maybe.
No, that's not VR. That's like hacker. Well, now I can see the island. But
Volcano. Where is it?
Jeez.
Where is it?
I don't know. I think it's out of render distance. It's so far away.
Yeah, probably.
But like, I don't want to do it that well. Oh,
I think that guy kicked you off the map.
I just went to space.
No, I saw him like drop kick you off the map, bro.
Alright, so we have the data. Now what? What do we make of this data? Well, I have some ideas. Two, actually. Obviously, we need to take our data and apply static and sound logic to it in order to fairly classify each system for the parameters in which it needs to run. My first idea is this. Remember the frame rate classification chart that I showed to you guys earlier? We're going to use it right here, right now, whether you like it or not. So let's talk about how we're going to use it. We are going to take all the resolutions we have tested, everything from 800 by 600 to 4K, and find the ideal system for each resolution step, and we'll use the frame rate classification chart to do this. You see the green and the blue areas here? This is where we want to be at, alright? The green is acceptable, but it's not ideal. The blue, however, this is where you want to be. okay? For the reason of that, if a system is running in the blue region, so like 60 to 120 FPS, we can cap the frame rate to 60 FPS and it will be rock solid with no stutters or weird inconsistency or whatever like that. It also has the benefit of being like keeping power usage down, so like cooling for laptops particularly, and it'll just overall look the smoothest in this region. So like basically the lower end of high pass and the higher end of pass, but less so for the pass, more in the high pass. To summarize this, when looking at the data, we want to look at the boundary right around, the normal pass and the high, and then record the graphics levels where it occurs so we can calculate the average ideal graphics quality for, that system. So basically these boundaries in the data, they look like this. They've got, you see the high pass section and the standard pass. Here's another one. These are from the Ryzen 3 1200 RX 640 PC. And then this one is from the Precision 3630. This is the best example that we have of the entire performance gradient here. You can see we're going to be considering, so let's go for 1080p here. We're going to be considering level 8 and 9 here. It runs at level 8 and 9 for 1080p. So how do we calculate that mathematically? Well, I have a good idea here too. Basically, for each system in any given resolution bracket, we're going to take all the graphics quality levels where the frame rate was within ideal margins and then calculate the mean of all those levels. Basically, just finding the average. And then we'll compare that average to the ideal graphics quality that Roblox should be running well at, that being from level 8 to 10. This is because the graphics at level 8 and above adds important visual features like depth of field, God rays, advanced glass rendering, and ambient occlusion, and anti-aliasing, and screen space reflections on water. Super important stuff that games literally, it's like night and day if you go and look at some of these games. I'll include examples, but I'll have a link in the description for my source on that one, because there's an article that has all the things. Now let's work on solving all the math and whatever for this idea before we talk about the next one, getting it done and out of the way. And I'll be doing all this math on my trusty Texas Instruments TI Inspire CX2 with CAS. Not sponsored, I just really like this calculator. As if I could get a normal sponsor in the first place, let alone TI of all the people. That'd be pretty cool, getting paid to do stupid stuff on YouTube. So guys, I'm trying to play Minecraft here, right? And I don't know why, but my FPS is really low. I tried turning down my render distance, and it really helped so much. My frame rate is just so bad. Look at this. I mean, this building's pretty cool that I've been making. It's got big hallway and some trees and this pool and stuff, but it just runs so bad. If I go out here, it's gonna get a lot better. You see, now that I'm out here, it's running so much better. But as soon as I go back towards my nice building here, it just completely goes to crap. So if anybody knows how to fix the performance on this, I'm open to suggestions, so feel free to comment. Anyway, once we crunch all those numbers, we're gonna make something like a PC alignment chart, Now, what on earth does that mean? Well, I'll tell you what. For each resolution bracket, we're going to find the slowest hardware possible that delivers the acceptable performance we just calculated out, which is made easy by graphically organizing all of it in a spreadsheet by the general order of slowest to fastest that I took during testing. Then we take each system and put it into another smaller chart, which will be our PC alignment chart, so to speak. I suppose that we'll set the vertical to the resolutions that we tested and the horizontal to the games that we tested. There's some schmutz on my monitor. Whatever. Now that we have all the numbers crunched and the data's all sorted, this is where my second idea comes in. Let's talk about Steam. Every PC gamer has at least heard of Steam before because it is the golden standard for a PC game platform. So what better of a model can we use than to do this? Anyway, Steam makes the data available to the public all of their hardware surveys, publicly accessible data and reliable metrics on all the hardware present in machines that have Steam installed on them. Checking the hardware survey for the average primary display resolution, we can see that 1080p is the most common as of March 2026. Then, if we take a look at our PC alignment chart, so to speak, all of our 1080p minimum systems here, we can see there's like 3 different configurations that fall into minimum, recommended, and maximum hardware. In terms of similarly performing hardware, TechPowerUp.com's GPU database has this really neat tool that has like all of their graphics cards that they have data on. It's like sorted into a table where it shows all their relative performance. So for this one, you see there's 5670 here. It's very similar to a GT640 apparently. For this, we can find common hardware with similar performance to that. In our cases, we can do the same thing for processors, but it's a little bit more convoluted. You got to go like look up stuff from like Geekbench or whatever, because there's a bunch of places that post like publicly available benchmarking data for various different kinds of processors. So Cinebench, Geekbench, all the benches, And without further ado, here it is. So there's a bit to go over here. Our minimum system had a Core 2 Duo processor in it because it was the retro PC, right? It had 5670, it was a Core 2 Duo system, and because of that, I had to upgrade it to, something of similar performance, just a bit more modern, loosely speaking, because the Core 2 Duos, like any Core 2 Duo, it cannot run Windows 10, or not Windows 10, Windows 11, because it does not support the CPU hardware instructions. So it cannot run modern Windows 11, even in a hacky kind of way. Also, our recommended system is a Steam Deck. So I based it off the Ryzen 3 Pro 1200 and RX 640 PC, since they were both performing so close to each other. And the RX 460 is a very close match to the RX 640 according to Tech Power Up, and with it being a little bit less obscure, I opted to choose that part instead. So I'm just going to detail all the hardware that we have here so that you don't have to squint and see. So for the minimum, we've got Core i3 2100 processor, Radeon HD 5670 or GeForce GT 640 GPU, 4 gigs of RAM, Windows 10 11, storage is 1 gig, and network is broadband. Those last 3 are the same for all these. And for recommended, what I've tested to be recommended hardware is, for a CPU, you're going to need a Ryzen 3 1200 or Core i5 7400 processor, an RX 640 or GTX 950 graphics card, 8 gigs or more of RAM, then Windows 10 11, 1 gig storage, broadband networking. And for the maximum system, the system that will be able to handily run any kind of Roblox game, the maximum system, you're going to want a AMD Ryzen 5 1600 processor or a Core i5 8500 processor, Radeon RX 580 or GeForce GTX 1060, 16 gigs of RAM, Windows 10 11, 1 gig storage, and broadband internet. And yeah, that's the system requirements for Roblox on PC. That took a long time. So we have our 3 systems here on paper. Now, what I want to do next is I want to figure out how much each of these hardware configurations is going to cost, so that you can have a relative idea of how much money you'd need to spend if you're going to get a computer that's going to play Roblox better. So let's start off with our minimum spec system. We've got a Core i3 2100, right? I'm gonna add that to the list. Let's go with this GT640. That thing's it's terrible. Which thing, a graphics card you don't want $100 for that, that's a terrible idea. Power supply. I'm just gonna get a straight up bomb here. Okay. Logicist, sure. It's probably gonna explode. So, PC Part Picker claims that all a build like this is going to be about $272. But you can honestly get all this hardware for like $200 if you do some looking on eBay, because all of this stuff is so old that you could get like the main performance parts for like the GPU and the processor and the motherboard. All that stuff can be had for probably like $20 a pop or something like that. And I mean, the RAM and the storage is a bit of a mixed bag because, you know, the economy's rough right now, but that's just how it is. So let's go for our recommended system. So what we've got is a Ryzen 3 1200 Core i5 7400. Let's just go with the Intel side, right there.
Oh gosh, that's expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive here. It's because it says it's getting off Amazon, right? I don't know why I can't even believe this stuff's in England.
Well, it's like a tissue box.
Look at this. Oh yeah, it's a processor box. It's a little window at the top. So you can see the chip. Like, this thing is like 10 years old. This thing is as old as you are, Augustus.
Oh, I'm 9.
This is, well, yeah, but like, this thing is as old as you are. It's going for like over $100. This is ridiculous. There's an 8-gig kit right here for $81, which is insane, but yeah.
How old is it?
I mean, it's DDR4. This PC has DDR4 in it. It's just that the economy's rough right now and everything's so expensive. That's literally the video card. We've got some. Oh wow, what on earth?
Oh!
Okay, first of all, this is a GTX 460 and they're trying to sell it for $447. This is phenomenal. Let's just go with this MSI card here. Thermaltake Smart. Yeah, I have one of them. They're not good, but
Wait a
they
sec.
work.
There was a.
There's some what?
It's like a thing that when you were scrolling, there was a thing that just said, "Be quiet."
Yeah, it's a brand of PC parts. We're looking at for our grand total for this mid-range system here, the recommended system, so to speak, is $556. Honestly, you could probably get it, like again, as I said again, I'll say again, you can probably get it for less than that, mostly because of the CPU here. This CPU is not accurate here. I'll go on eBay right now and look up what the prices for this thing on the used market are. Yeah, look, these things are literally running for $20 on eBay right now. So honestly, like $500. This could probably be had for like $50. I want to say. So ultimately, you're looking at $400, $500, which is super cheap for a PC of this caliber. You can upgrade this. You can probably put a way beefier graphics card in there at some point. So we'll start a new one, and we're going to work on our maximum system. That's a 5600. Sure, 12 nanometer has a price. Video card. We've got RX 580 because those are going around RX 580 specifically. Just going to get the cheapest one here. XFX card.
One for $1,000.
Which is an RX 580 for $1,000.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. How is that going to sell? It's so stupid. So what it claims here on PC Part Picker is $653. But honestly, if you go and find some used hardware for all this stuff, you're probably going to be sitting around $500. So it's a pretty fair spectrum of like a below $200 system, below $400, like $350, $400 system, and a $500 system. So that's roughly what your price range is going to be for, you know, finding a system specifically for Roblox, which is kind of dumb, but hey, you do you, man. With that being said, you know, you get a system like that, a PC, instead of, you know, a console or a phone.
Sorry.
Don't hit the camera, dude. But yeah, as I was saying, you know, you get a PC instead of a console, you can do a lot more than just playing video games on it. I mean, you could, you know, design your own video game. You could download Roblox Studio and make your own games on Roblox. So, you know, that's my wisdom for that. Before I start the usual YouTuber speak of, like and subscribe, whatever, I just want to congratulate you guys on the fact that you actually made it all the way to the end of this video, because, oh my gosh, it was a long and arduous journey to get here, I tell you what. I tried to, like, my original intention was to try and keep it, like, you know, a 30-minute long kind of video, but the scope of this project just simply did not allow for that. Testing 16 different computers in a full, accurate, like, mathematically and scientifically accurate test is a lot easier said than done. And especially when it's combined with, like, I don't know, going to school and doing robotics and all that stuff. I'm not making excuses, but, like, it just took me a really long time. But I'm here, I'm done, and I'm satisfied with the final product of this video. And honestly, I hope you guys are satisfied too. And if you are, you can show your satisfaction by subscribing to the channel above all else, because, you know, what else would I tell you to do? It's YouTube. If you do subscribe, it gives me a huge morale boost, and it makes me want to make more of these videos for you guys, and just, I do these as a passion. It's entirely a side gig. I mean, I don't think I'm going to be like, you know, one of those people where making YouTube videos is your entire career. That sounds really lame. I do doing stupid stuff with stupid computers has, you know, been a pretty long time hobby of mine, and I want to continue to show you guys what I'm doing. And if you it just as I said before, you know, it gives me a morale boost to see that number of subscribers go up. I do intend on expanding this video further in the future, because I'm always getting new hardware. As a matter of fact, I've gotten like 3 new systems to test with that I would really like to test with Roblox, but I just didn't get the time to fit it all into this, if, you know, time being a super relative statement in the first place. But yeah, like, I want to expand my database of systems. I want to expand it, make it as large as possible. I want to have as many systems tested and possible and out there, so that anybody can go and, like, my dream eventually is to have, like, a site, I don't know, maybe a site or some kind of database where somebody can, like, look up the hardware that they have, and then it will it will spit them out, like, you know, practically tested hardware that is either the same or of similar caliber to the hardware that they requested, so that they could, you know, see what games they can and can't run well. That would be pretty cool. I intend on doing more videos like this. Like, maybe not 16 different computers, but yeah, I do want to do it. I want to do more graphics card reviews, because I have a lot of those. Alright, Mr. Motorcycle Dude. I want to do more GPU videos, and I also want to do more tons of system benchmarks. Like, particularly, I want to do Control, because Control seems to run on just about anything I try to run it on. And I really want to see how that goes with, like, some of my super, like less powerful hardware, like my GTX 650 that I just got fairly recently. A couple of general announcements before I, you know, roll the slideshow at the end. I have a Discord server where I post things like video teasers and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, in the Discord server, you can get, you know, video updates during the development of the video, which is what I've been posting about the whole process the entire time I've been making this. There's also a Minecraft server in the Discord server. I know, a server in a server. But the Minecraft server, the IP and all that stuff, you have to get on a whitelist. I don't just let any random in from the internet. You have to get on the whitelist, and then I'll send you the IP and all that stuff. And then you can go and join the server. It's Java only, no Bedrock, so you gotta have a PC. I'm sorry. But yeah, Discord server, Minecraft server. Of course, I'll have all the links to that in the description below. I'll also have the link to my entire spreadsheet that contains all of my testing data that I have in this video in the description below. I've touched on it before. But yeah, like, subscribe, Discord, Minecraft maybe if you're into that. Yeah. I'm gonna go to bed. It's been a while.